AFC North secondaries ranked, and we're going to go from worst to first. This is from Dawg Pound Daily. They go with the Bengals, and you see Taylor Britt, Awuzie. Mike Hilton's pretty good. Scott, Hill, Battle. Remember, they lost Von Bell and Jesse Bates. Number 3, they go Steelers. Joey Porter Jr., a rookie. Wallace, Patrick Pearson, getting a little long in the tooth. Fitzpatrick is a stud. Ravens, they go as number 2. Rock Ya-Sin, Marlon Humphrey, Brandon Stevens, Marcus Wood, Kyle Hamilton. That is a really strong group. They rank the Browns number 1, and it's hard to argue. Denzel Ward, Martin Emerson, Greg Newsome, Juan Thornhill, Rodney McLeod, Grant Delpit. That is deep. That is strong. And when you look at those rankings, I think people are giving the Bengals a pass. They're going to miss Jesse Bates and Von Bell. They just are.
No question about it. I mean, those are 2 quality starting safeties in the NFL. I mean, when those guys go out for big money contracts, there's no other way to sugarcoat it. It's just, you're going to have to hope that you hit on some, really good young draft picks at safety. Obviously, Dax Hill was a former first-round pick. They just drafted Jordan Battle in the 3rd round, who I like Jordan Battle. I think he's got a chance to be a pretty good safety. These guys are just unproven in Cincinnati, and I think that's going to be the biggest question going forward for the Bengals. But when you look at the Browns number 1, it speaks to the job Andrew Berry's done evaluating, secondary talent and getting some of these guys in. I mean, you look at Martin Emerson, Greg Newsome, Grant Delpit. They've drafted those guys. He's drafted all 3 of those guys. Denzel Ward, came in before Andrew Berry was the GM. So 4 of those 6 guys that you mentioned are draft picks. And we've seen so much, how the Browns have struggled because they weren't able to draft good talent. You look at this list of guys, they've drafted 2/3 of these guys. So that tells you they've done a very good job identifying good players at that position and, drafting and developing those guys. And in this division, in this conference, with the quarterbacks you got to play against, you got to be able to have guys who can cover. We know the Browns have a very good 1-2-3 combination at corner, however they want to line up, whichever one of the 3 goes into the slot. The question is going to be, how good can Grant Delpit be, going into the final year of his rookie deal? What kind of veteran presence does Juan Thornhill and Rodney McLeod provide? But, this is a secondary that should be easily as good as any in this division. I think there's a pretty decent gap to me between 1 and 2. I mean, I love Marlon Humphrey. He's one of the best corners in the NFL. Kyle Hamilton had a very good rookie season for Baltimore. I just have questions, outside of Humphrey. Rocky Sin's solid, but there's questions I think that need to be answered after those 2 guys as far as depth, across the rest of that secondary, because, when they got some guys were injured, teams were starting to throw on them a little more, especially, a couple of years ago.